conflict, disruption in the Gulf and the fear of a wider regional war, the United States and Iran have moved ahead with a Memorandum of Understanding. But the big question here is, does this MoU bring peace or does it give Iran breathing space? For Israel, the stakes are existential. Tehran's nuclear ambitions, its missile program, and its network of proxies from Hezbollah to Houthis remain at the heart of Israel's security concerns. Even as Washington speaks of diplomacy and de-escalation, Israel is asking whether any deal with Iran can be trusted without firm guarantees, strict verification, and consequences for violation. India too is watching closely. Millions of Indians live and work in the Gulf. Energy routes through Hormuz matter to Indian households, Indian industry, and Indian security. A war in West Asia is never just a regional war. It hits oil, trade, shipping, diaspora, safety, and global stability. So in this exclusive one-to-one conversation, we go straight to the Israeli position. Joining us now is Reuven Azar, Israel's ambassador to India. Thank you so much, sir, for joining me. And let me begin by asking you, sir, has this MoU empowered Iran or has it created conditions for broad regional stability?
Well, first of all, Kartikeya, militarily, there's no doubt that we had an amazing victory here because we've been able to remove two existential threats that were looming immediately on our country. The military nuclear threat, the Iranians were weeks away from breakout to a nuclear weapon. We removed that, and now the breakout time has gone up for more than 2 years. And when it comes to the ballistic missile threat, we have completely destroyed their industry. They will have to build it again. In addition to that, we have defeated their armies in Gaza, in Lebanon. You still have Hezbollah operating there, but it's much weaker. Therefore, now we are at a diplomatic stage, and here there are gaps, no doubt, that are concerns when it comes to at least two issues. The issue of ballistic missiles and the proxies are not in the Memorandum of Understanding. And when it comes to the military nuclear threat, we'll have to see what the negotiations bring. And therefore, Israel will stay alert. We will continue maintaining our right for self-defense, especially right now in South Lebanon. The MoU doesn't require Israel to withdraw. We are negotiating peace with the Lebanese government. And in that negotiations, we're going to allow the Lebanese army to, in a kind of a pilot project, to try to start taking chunks of South Lebanon clean from Hezbollah presence. If that succeeds, then we'll be able to withdraw, but only then, and not under the Tehran terms, but under the agreement we will have with the Lebanese government.
But what is the guarantee that Iran is not going to fund Hezbollah? Because the MoU in its draft says that Iran must desist from funding the proxies.
Well, that's a challenge. I think that if Iran uses the money that is going to be, by the way, a very limited release at the first stage, because, you know, Iran has suffered losses of more than $1 trillion. And even if they get a few dozens of billions now, they will have to decide whether to divert it to their own people that are suffocating under the oppression of this regime, or to try to rebuild this machinery of aggression and weapons of mass destruction. It remains to be seen, but meanwhile, Israel will continue to exercise its right for self-defense.
You know, I was going through the Memorandum of Understanding, Ambassador, and I was surprised to find that not only $300 billion will be given, but there is no mechanism to overlook whether this will be spent on hybrid, civil, military, that's one. Secondly, the sort of money that is going to be defreezed is not little. It is somewhere between $127 billion to $167 billion, and a lot of mainstream Western newspapers have reported that's more than $450 billion. So what is who takes the guarantee where this money is going to be spent?
Well, first of all, it depends how you read this, because President Trump has said yesterday that the United States is not going to put even 10 cents into this fund, and this fund is going to be completely voluntary, and by the way, is pending on reaching a final deal. So the memorandum states very clearly that in the meantime, temporarily, some of the restrictions will be removed, and as to how much money Iran will get from that, it remains to be seen.
Okay.
And this time we are in a situation in which Iran's military is devastated, and they are thirsty for these funds. We'll have to see how they use it. At the end of the day, as I told you, Israel has the economic capability now, because our economy is very robust. We have $700 billion GDP, and the Prime Minister just stated only 2 days ago that we're going to invest more than $100 billion in the upgrade of our security forces. So we will be able in the future to cope with the threats coming from Iran. And now we have proved to this regime that they are vulnerable and they are exposed.
Okay, coming to the issue of nuclear weapons, and I'll compare it with what was written when JCPOA was signed. Iran will not develop nuclear weapons, but it does not preclude, sir, the ambition of becoming a nuclear power for Iran. And in JCPOA, Iran said, the earlier draft, that under no circumstances will Iran ever seek, develop or acquire nuclear weapons. A lot of critics are saying that the words should have been stronger. This is a big concession given by Americans.
Well, first of all, the JCPOA, unfortunately, gave a secure path to Iran to develop industrialized enrichment apparatus that would allow it eventually, when the sunsets of the agreement come, to sneak out to a nuclear arsenal of at least 200 or 300 bombs. And we knew that this is very dangerous for Israel, and therefore we fought against that agreement. Now we have a situation in which, first of all, there is a military, very credible military threat against Iran, and we have proved Iran that we can hit it. Number two, this is a temporary memorandum, and therefore you cannot compare a temporary memorandum with a final agreement that was reached more than a decade ago.
Okay.
It remains to be seen. Israel, look, we have challenges here, there's no doubt, because this memorandum of understanding doesn't include things that we would wish it includes. However, we will continue our dialogue with the United States, with our partners. This president has been doing for Israel a lot. We appreciate that. And we will try to bridge these gaps in order to make sure that eventually Iran, all the ways of Iran to a nuclear capability will be blocked, because Iran has been cheating the world. And we don't believe their statements. We need to have the mechanisms to verify that they don't have a nuclear capability.
You see, my issue with this MoU is people generally see it from the context of Israel, America, and Iran. But this memorandum of understanding, as I think, has taken the world for a ride. That's my understanding. For example, what the Americans have done is no tax for 60 days, but allows Iran and Oman to tax ships later. Iran now ends up with a revenue stream. I mean to say...
No, I think that you are misreading it. First of all, you can read it from the statement of the G7, that no country is going to allow tolling. What the Memorandum of Understanding says is that Iran and Oman and other countries may decide that they want to provide services to, shipping. And it's up to the countries to decide whether they want to get their services. But under no circumstances, international law is going to change. This is a free passage for navigation under international law. It has to remain a free passage. And imagine if Spain, Morocco, and Britain would decide that they want to block the
Strait of
Gibraltar,
Gibraltar.
say.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to agree to that. This is customary law for centuries now, and this regime won't be able to change that. What they are trying to do is to sell this deal to their people as a good deal, as a victory. But the people of Iran know very well, Kartikeya, that Iran was defeated militarily, and they know very well that the resources of this country have been diverted from the purpose that was supposed to serve the Iranian people to this machinery of aggression. This regime is not becoming more popular, but they are desperately trying to market it as a victory, and many outlets around the world are helping it.
Sir, was it really necessary to lift the secondary sanctions also? When I was going through the draft, it also lifted secondary sanctions also.
Well, if you understand sanction regimes, you would know that the fact that the United States puts sanctions on a country, if the country doesn't want to comply, the only tool that you have to exercise it is by having secondary sanctions. sanctions. So of course that the lifting sanctions temporarily and limitedly have to do only with secondary sanctions.
But coming back to the nuclear issue, how will the Israeli government or the American government or the people who are in charge assess what they are doing with the enriched uranium in terms of the ballistic missile program, which is under the tunnels? People have no idea. And how in diversion of the funds which will be given to them does not go to the military. That's the biggest question.
Well, first of all, we are going to monitor what Iran is doing. As you know, we have invested a lot of resources just to know what's going on in Iran. We are monitoring that. If Iran tries to reconstitute their plans to produce weapons of mass destruction, we'll have to draw the conclusion, and the Israeli cabinet has the authority to authorize our defense forces to defend themselves against that threat. When it comes to decisions of the regime how to spend their money, that's up to them. We don't control that.
And in context of India-Israel relationship, sir, how did you think that it panned out in last 60, 70 days? Was it strengthened in this time of war? Was it taken to a different level? How did it pan out? Last 70 days when Israel was fighting an existential war?
Well, I can tell you, Kartikeya, that we remained with open channels. Of course, we followed the concerns of India in this regard. I think that this aggression by Iran, I mean the extortion of the international community by using this card of the Strait of Hormuz, which, by the way, you can use them only once. At the end of the day, what will happen is that all countries will draw the conclusions. They will have to diversify in order to get solutions that can sustain another closure of the straits. The countries, if the region are going to build infrastructure, many countries, I'm sure, including India, are going to diversify by buying from other regions in the world. But generally speaking, we have maintained contact in the highest level. We have explained our position to our Indian friends, and we are continuing our cooperation to create the solutions we need to fight radicalism and terrorism.
Both India and Israel, this is a question you must have heard often, we are victims of terrorism. But if you see, last 18 months or maybe 24 months, there were protests in various universities in East Coast of America. There were protests in various other parts. It looks like, the world can criticize the acts of terror, but, lacks the appetite to really fight it, to do what it takes.
Look, with all due respect to fight over public opinion, and I have respect, we have to invest in that because it's so important. Neither the security of India nor the security of Israel are going to be subject to what people say in universities in the East Coast, in the West Coast, or in the South or in the North. It's up to the sovereign right of our peoples and our governments, and we will pursue our right for self-defense.
Coming back to India-Israel relationship, how do you think that India has played its role in resolving this issue? Do you think that India also played a part in resolving the larger gambit?
Well, I think that every country pursues its own interest. I've seen with admiration how the government has been handling the difficulties that arise from this conflict and done it in a very sophisticated and efficient way. Look, India has an amazing role to play in our region because India has signed all these agreements, trade agreements with major blocs, which is going to increase the quantities of merchandise that go east and west. There are more than 10 million people, Indians, that are living in the Gulf. And rest assured that if we succeed in defeating this malign force in Tehran that was planning not only to annihilate the state of Israel, but we have complete hegemony over the region, if we succeed in finally debilitating them for the long term, the prospects of growth and of opportunities in West Asia are going to rise because we need prosperity and security. We need countries to cooperate, and increasingly this is happening. Under the Abraham Accords, under the umbrella of CENTCOM, we are defending the skies of the Middle East. We are going to create the forces that are necessary to defend ourselves also in the maritime pathways. We are seeing how India is investing in its maritime might, and we will also have to do that. Many countries in the region will have to draw the conclusions of these disruptions, because we cannot surrender to terrorism. We cannot surrender to countries that will do whatever they want without any limitations, without any respect for international law. They're going to continue. Countries like Iran, like Hezbollah, the terrorist forces of Hezbollah, the Houthis, they're going to do whatever they want.
Will they allow the IMEC to operationalize?
In order to impose themselves on us, we are not going to agree to that.
But do you think, what's the future of IMEC? And the second question is, one important outcome which people thought may happen was, I wouldn't like to use the word regime change, but a democratic government functioning in Iran. Sort of a people's government functioning in Iran. That is not there.
Look, first of all, economy is like water. The merchandise will go to the places that supply good services. So we have to have a security foundation. We have to have an economic foundation and to build the infrastructure needed for the merchandise to be serviced smoothly. And then we can have also the political framework that will support all of that. I am very optimistic because I know that Israel has the economic power and the security power to build the infrastructure needed, both on the security side and the economic side. And I know that with India and with partners in the Gulf, we will be able to create opportunities that serve our economies and our peoples. That's for sure. Now, your second question?
There has been no regime change. There has been no people's government. IRGC is
said,
in power. The Quds forces, they are in power. They were instrumental in organizing the attack that took place in Israel, where thousands of innocent Israelis were killed, when the banks were broken, and militant Hamas terrorists came inside Israel. That infrastructure is still there. You have used the word number of times that they have been militarily defeated. But the asset that creates terror acts remains intact.
Yes, you are right. The regime is there. What we said at the outset is that we want to remove the existential threats, and we want to give the Iranian people an opportunity to embrace their future. Now, everybody in the region and in the world has seen the true colors of this regime in Tehran. In the past, they were trying to hide behind their proxies and say that this is not coming from them, that they are not the aggressor. Now everybody understands their nature and the way that not only they are treating us in the region, the way they are treating their own people. They have killed more than 40,000 peaceful protesters in Iran. So this regime hasn't become more popular. We know that their days are counted. At the end of the day, the Iranian people hopefully will find the opportunity to create accountability, to bring change to this land, the land of the Persians, and all civilization that deserves a much more astute, capable, and cooperative leadership.
But are you in a safer place today despite the war? The question, the reason why I asked you this question is, you have an active operation in Gaza. You are inside the southern Lebanon. You have crossed the river Litani.
Yes.
It's an active operation that is happening. There are issues in West Bank. So may I ask this question to you? Do you think Israel is in a safer zone now?
Much more. I'll tell you why. Because before the 7th of October, there was a huge force of Hamas and other terrorist organizations in the Gaza Strip that launched this attack, that had the capability to fire at Tel Aviv, and it was an amazing threat on our country. Now Hamas is in a box. We control more than 60% of the Gaza Strip, and we will remain there until Hamas agrees to the pathway that was set by the international community. They have to disarm. In Lebanon, we have a friendly government in Lebanon that wants to cooperate with us and make a peace agreement with us, and is interested, like us, in dismantling Hezbollah. In Syria, the Iranians have left. There is a new regime there that doesn't serve the interests of Tehran. In Iran itself, we have distanced these threats that were looming on us, from weeks to a breakout to a nuclear weapon, 2 years of that, from a ballistic missile capability that would create 10,000 ballistic missiles within a few years. We have destroyed the entire industry. They have residual capability, but now they would have to build all that again. And we are going to remain there to defend ourselves in the future.
So two questions before I let go of you, and please allow me to ask that question to you. Do you think that there can ever be peace in West Asia without a political settlement of the Palestinian issue? That's one.
We have proved in the past that Israel is ready for peace. The problem is with the forces that are trying to annihilate us. You know, almost 50 years ago, we signed a peace deal with Egypt. From the moment that Egypt decided that they don't want to destroy the state of Israel, we made a peace agreement. We offered the Palestinians a state more than once, but they refused because they don't want to establish their own state. They want to destroy our state. So from the moment that they will renounce this appeal to destroy us, them, Hezbollah, Hamas, the Iranians, then we're going to have peace. Because Israel is a peace-loving nation. We are a democracy that is doing whatever it takes, not only to survive, but also to thrive. Our economy is doing very well, Katike. After 3 years of war, investments is flocking into Israel from all over the world. Our GDP per capita has grown up to $70,000. We are 13th in the world. So Israel has the capability to defend itself and to thrive, and I'm sure we're going to continue to succeed and to thrive.
And last question, sir. When your critic says that there may be a greater Israel in place, what do you have to say?
It's very simple. We have no territorial claims over Lebanon or over Gaza. The only thing that we want, we tried to defend ourselves from the border, and we were attacked unilaterally by these enemies. So if we get the security arrangements and the guarantees that these capabilities won't be built again by these aggressors, we will withdraw.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for making time for News9. It was a pleasure to have you here, sir.
My pleasure.
Today, West Asia stands at a decisive diplomatic crossroads. After months of conflict, disruption in the Gulf and the fear of a wider regional war, the United States and